Hey you, it's true, with the first ever universal Evertale tier list. Why do I call it that? Because thanks to yet another massive methodology update, the data behind this list now covers all 40 Champions Arena clusters worldwide. What shifts will that cause in the tiers? Quite a few, though let's check out the newcomer SSRs first. The water unit Yamato is a guard and brings quite a lot of nice ironclad features in her skillset and a crazier imposter production on the enemy team than anything we've seen so far in Evertale. Sometimes I've observed her creating more than 20 imposters, clogging up the enemy reinforcements. She also has some nice healing capabilities, a bit of DPS, good support functions with an entry effect, a step back mechanic, but she is a bit vulnerable to stun, and maybe even more importantly, compared to the guard that was released just a week prior to her, new Anya, not just 1 versus 1, but in general she's usually just a weaker option to go for. She's more suited for sleep, but all other team types and possibly even sleep should probably pick up new Anya first, although if you can afford it, having both of them will not hurt you either. All that is a long way of saying that Yamato goes to S tier for now, for a guard that is a bit of a lower entry I would say, but I do expect her to stick around that high tier for quite a long time to come. Then we got the light unit Zoro with a nice innovative TU reduction mechanic. Every time any enemies get hit, or rather any units get hit by attacks, her TUs are reduced. At first she cannot do massively much, except if her hold ground plus gets triggered, but she also has a give turn mechanic and most importantly a crazy strong survivor skill, the most potent one in the game right now, ignoring damage reduction, guards and survival passives. So an execute skill that can just go against any unit with a huge damage multiplier of up to 900% if she is enraged, which she can do herself. She's not an absolute steamroller though, also not the ideal carry because she really needs some strong protection beside her. So I would really recommend running new Anya together with her right at the start of the battle. For now, Zoro goes to the high end of the S tier. And then we turn our attention to a bit more of a disappointing unit. Dark Kaguya is the third hypnosis unit in the entire game, but fails to live up to her predecessor Cthulhu, landing more in the category of Loki at her respective release. While she really has some great skill animations to look at, her survivability is a problem despite her stealth healing and stealth armor, and as such she really only makes it into the B tier for now. I think one other aspect that is holding her back is that this kind of poison stun unit has a bit of a struggle to actually synergize well with other poison stun units. Cthulhu is still very prevalent in the meta, then again you never want to run 2 hypnosis units together since they just take the targets away from each other. You can only use 1 hypnosis at a time, and the kind of auto mega poison mechanic of this Dark Kaguya, a bit reminiscent of the cursed sleep of the original Earth Kaguya, just doesn't hit as hard because she's kind of in a weird limbo where she doesn't want too many enemies to be mega poisoned, or rather no enemies to be mega poisoned, because then she gets some benefits. So if other units alongside her are mega poisoning the enemy, they are kind of taking away some part of Dark Kaguya's skillset. So I think her skillset is a bit too convoluted to really succeed, quite unfortunately. Still decent use at 1 copy and she has a nice entry effect, but the entry effect of the next unit is much better. We have Storm Kirin. After 6 years, the second version of Kirin. This time of course it is a girl, and she has a much stronger stunning entry skill that additionally also grants a turn to an ally and purifies the entire ally team. And unlike Dark Kaguya, she can also step back up to 5 times to repeat that. The rest of her skillset is great too, although her attack all execute skill with a 25% execute chance is a bit wonky. And honestly, my biggest problem with her is her AI, which has some very weird prioritization going on, kind of skipping on the ideal turn order for her that would make a lot of sense in many cases. She just goes straight for that attack all execute skill that is very costly and sometimes doesn't achieve all that much, which is unfortunate because I think it hinders her potential. She's also held back slightly by her survivability, which is not amazing, although she has some nice kind of stun immunity and sleep immunity conditions in her skill set. Regardless, very helpful as an entry at just one copy already in pretty much most arena teams except Sleep and Burn, and as such she goes to the S tier. Now moving on to the tier changes from the bottom to the top. We have 5 units this time falling into Obscurity and into the Graveyard tier. Dark Corlan, the Poison Dragon, Light Elmina, the Christmas Survivor unit, Shira, the Poison Butterfly Lady, Shuten Daoji, the Poison Stealth unit, and Mizuchi, the first ever SSR with a counter skin. A lot of poisonous movement in the other direction as well. Interestingly, we have Earth Astrid going up to the F tier. She was the first unit that got the kind of auto poison on entry mechanic. Back then, of course, much more powerful than it is now, but it seems like a few of the top teams are making her work well enough. Something that isn't really working well enough anymore is the kind of top stealth units of the previous era a few years ago. Storm Elmina and Earth Misha both were number 1 in my rankings for extended periods of times, but now they join the F tier. Some more drops of burn units from the D to E tier. We have Freya, Honochi and Fire Elmina all going down, together with the sleep unit Ludmilla and Clarice, who was also top 4 once upon a time. And speaking of fairy tales, Light Snow White, the only unit with an elemental transformation mechanic, goes down too. Staying with the theme of 5 units being demoted, in the C to the D tier section of this video, we see the prior number 1 Light Cinderella go down, still over 10% usage, but her impact is clearly fading. The burn unit Nobunaga is going down as well, as is Sleeping Beauty, the original one that introduced the Thorn mechanic. Her legacy still lives on with the current Earth Gawain. Also down is Bright Reset, probably the first unit that really tried to make poison and sleep together work well. And then there's also Himiko, a fan favorite. She now gets the D tier, of course. We go higher up and the drops don't stop. The Water Sleep units Otohime and Water Sleeping Beauty are going down, as is the Cursed Sleep unit Kaguya. 2 guards in Bright Ludmilla and Bright Astrid. They are very old at this point, so the C tier is still extremely high considering that. Then we get Rapunzel, the light sleep support unit, kind of weird hybrid that can work in many team types. And then there's Goemon, one of the newer units, already down to the C tier. Again now, I mean, her skill set is problematic because it is just so restricted. You kind of have to run her either in front or at the very end of an arena team. And even then in the current meta it's not too hard to take care of her. I think probably sleep teams have the potential to struggle the most against her, but then again, sleep teams aren't exactly at their peak right now either. But be assured that not just sleep units are dropping in this edition. We have another huge group of demotions coming up in the B tier, or rather coming down from the A tier. Another guard in Bright Lancelot, who is really struggling to stay alive nowadays. Still some value of course, but the executes and super mega poison style of gameplay are really leaving a mark on her. Fire Kaguya and Gilgamesh are going down as well, as the focus shifts to stronger burn units. Percival arguably already has a successor in Hokusai, although she is still a very strong entry unit with her execute skill, as is Dark Cinderella, who struggles hard with sleep and stun, but if she gets turns, then she can still be the most lethal against many of the top tier characters, especially in the light era we see right now. Napoleon is also dropping despite having the revolutionary first execute all skill, or at least a skill that has the potential to execute all enemies. Of course, Kojiro's Sakura Storm is a massive upgrade over that. Looking even further up, we have some more sleep units dropping in Water Cinderella and Water Anya. Water Anya, of course, a long time number 1. Still helpful, especially with the barrier that she brings to the table. But of course now being quite outclassed by many other recent releases. And then also dropping a little bit surprisingly, I think, is Da Vinci going down to the A tier. Maybe it's the RNG that sometimes just doesn't hit quite right. Maybe it's a bit her survivability. Probably she struggles somewhat against the new Anya builds too. Then again, still some solid use cases for her. The same can be said, of course, for Unicorn, the storm support that stuns enemy units on entry. Though the survival of her gets increasingly difficult nowadays, especially because all units basically have a higher hate for her built in as soon as she's there with Dark Sun Wukong. Still a powerful potential turnaround mechanic in an arena team. The light burn unit Mordred is also going down a bit. The first time since her release that actually 5 other burn units with the fire element are above her. And somebody who despises fire is also going down. That is Yukata Ludmilla. 57% usage still, but of course against the other new guards, she isn't looking too great right now. And even compared to Light Anya, she just doesn't have quite the staying power as the meta shifts. We already had 3 new units join the S tier, but no worries, a lot of other units are joining there as well. We have Earth Sun Wukong going down. The kind of passive cloner is definitely struggling. Not a good matchup, even despite the elemental advantage against somebody like New Anya. Earth Gawain is doing much better there. And of course, burn is a bit of a concern as well. I already alluded to it earlier, sleep isn't having the best of times right now. We have Tristan and Mermaid both dropping to the S tier. Tristan still nice with the get turn and the disabling mechanic, while Mermaid brings the kind of coral barrier, which is also quite nice combined with the new guards. But that doesn't change the fact that sleep currently is a bit pushed back, especially from the starting platoons. But if you are a burn fan, don't celebrate just yet, because Cerberus and Satan are also going down. Cerberus, of course, still a top guard and possibly the best guard for a burn team, although there is some serious competition now from the universal new Anya. And yeah, the kind of universal units going up in the rankings is a struggle for burn in general as well. Granted, water is having an even tougher time, with Musashi now ranked at 11th, but still staying in the SS tier. This is the first time in years that there is no water unit in the top 10, while fire can still celebrate Lucifer in that SS tier and top 10. Barely staying in the top 10 is Avatar Ludmilla, who falls down to the SS tier quite harshly, but honestly, this is absolutely to be expected. She is the prime unit for the guardless play that has become more prevalent over the last months, but with the 2 top guard releases in New Anya and Yamato, her arena impact was bound to take a hit. Also going down are the 2 dark poison units, Dark Lancelot and Cthulhu. Still extremely powerful and useful in many scenarios, also coming in from the reinforcements, but not dominating enough anymore to defend their SSS tier rating. Now, after like 40 demotions in a row, you might feel a little bit exhausted, so let's freshen things up a bit with a promotion of Hokusai, who goes straight up to the SS tier. She comes with the Elemental Quicken, with the Masterpiece, a very enjoyable skill animation on that skill. The paintfall, which oftentimes might just turn out to be the downfall of an enemy team. The elemental quicken, which is very, very helpful. Then again, I do think she is also a bit of a unit that wants protection, although she at least cannot die to poison and has some nice healing mechanics as well. But that is part of the reason why she pairs up very well with the two remaining SSS tier units. Yes, we are back to a status where only 2 units are clearly above the rest. Actually more clearly than you can imagine. The difference is like 4 million true power, which is an insane differential. Kojiro is still remaining to be the top tier DPS in the entire game for any team that isn't Sleep. And I thought maybe the new Anya release caused her to lose some relevancy, maybe a little bit, but nothing there. She's still a top carry. I think definitely the best unit that you can get if you are just starting out. A solo carry with great survivability. She has the counter mechanic. She has the kind of auto purify with that kind of counter mechanic, getting turns, having the armor especially high at the beginning, but even after she goes on and kills and gets super fast with her kills, she still maintains 50% baseline armor. On top of that, she can even help your team when she gets kills. So yeah, a lot to love about this Kojiro. But interestingly, she is still overtaken by the new Anya, the first time ever that a guard gains the first place in my true power rankings. It was a very tight race between these two, don't get me wrong. But yeah, new Anya is a force to be reckoned with, especially if she is fully awakened, fully leveled. She needs as many HP as possible, and then she can be a true wall for up to 1000 time units, completely changing the meta landscape away from the kind of guardless play that became much more common. The disabling mechanic is just so good, and especially if you bring a barrier unit alongside her, like Murasaki for example, the enemy really needs some high damage output skills twice in a row to really take her out. Oh my god, I talked way too long again, especially considering that only 10% of viewers are watching this right now. So if you are one of them, special shout out to you. I very much appreciate you taking the time to not just skip straight to the end of the tier list video. But yeah, that's it. Here we have the new complete tier list based on 2000 top teams from around the world. If your team is in the top 50 at the end of a ranking season in Champions Arena, then it did influence this very tier list. Needless to say, the workload to put this whole thing together is quite immense. And so I would very much appreciate it if you take a second to hit the like button on this video, since this is a great motivation for me to keep going. The executive summary of this video is that new Anya and Kojiro are absolutely dominating the Evertale meta right now. If you want to stay tuned on future developments of that very meta, make sure to subscribe, and as always, thanks for watching.